video is brought to you by Law Excellence IAS Academy.
Dear students, welcome to the Daily Editorial Enrichment Program by La Excellence R&D team. So today we'll understand the newspaper of June 27th, 2019. The first article of 27 June is Negotiating the Forks in the Road of Diplomacy. The forks here has a three spokes, that is US, China and Russia. So India needs a substantive and a defined account of its own objectives to steer its strategic course in these stormy times. In this article, we'll detailedly analyze what are the stormy times that we are facing through, what are the objectives that we need to focus upon. So this particular article deals with GS Paper 2, India and its international relations, and it also deals with the global groupings and the regional groupings and effects of policies and politics of developed and developing countries on the Indian interest. This article is a news because of G20 summit happening in Osaka, Japan. In this meet, Prime Minister Modi would be meeting the 8 world leaders as well as attend the 2 trilateral meeting, that is of Russia, India and China, Japan, America and India. Over the span of last 2 months, Prime Minister has been visiting to many of the countries as well as having talks with leaders of the world. So, at this context, what are the important issues that is in front of India is, first thing is with respect to trade. We are well aware that US is India's largest trading partner. Even though we overjoyed over US trade war over China, however, recently Trump's moves have challenged India's trade issues as well. So, with unilateralism over the trade and with has resulted in many trade issues. If India cannot tract over or remain intractable over the US trade issues, then India may have to think about regional comprehensive economic partnership that would be a center stage after US walked out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. In order to counter the unilateralism of US over the trade issues, so to counter this, BRICS meeting as well as Russia, India, China meetings have been planned to be held. Apart from the trade concerns, the most important concern what we have is with respect to energy and communication. So we would be knowing that we are importing a low cost oil from Iran. So with increasing impositions of sanctions by United States over the Iran, so our energy security has been affected. There has been a full-scale confrontation between United States and Iran, which is posing a huge challenges to India. US withdrawal from Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, even though it has given a waiver to continue with the oil imports, India's investment and dream of largest connectivity via Chabhar port and Russia-led international north-south transport corridor would be affected with increasing US sanctions over the top ranks of Iran's government. So, will India adhere to this contact with Iran leadership or rejects US demands? So, there is again a stand where India needs to take firmly. Apart from the issues of trade and energy, so the next important issue is with respect to the telecommunication and building 5G networks. The trials over the 5G network building infrastructure are about to begin in September. However, United States with the security concerns wants Huawei, the Chinese company, to be kept out of these drills. However, China, unequivocally supporting this Huawei, is telling to make an unbiased choice towards ensuring a fair process. Moving on to the next issue, that is Russian S-400 missile system. Again, a black and white decision for the government need to be taken. US is against going ahead with the deal. It would impose sanctions and close the door to the American high technology and advanced aircrafts deals. Next is with respect to the maritime. So with the whole focus is on the South China Sea, wherein US pitted against the China from South Asia through the Indo-Pacific issues. India being aware of the Chinese encroachment of the subcontinent waters, will it be complacent about the military buildup in South Asia? US recently started with its military and security upgradation plans in this region. For example, status of forces agreement So, India needs to make its objective very clear whether India will continue to be complacent about the military buildup in South Asia or it would take a tough stand against all these things. Moving on to the next issue, that is transformed alignment. Since from the beginning, there has been a tussle between US and Russia and China. Even though it's not a new issue, India has successfully dealt in the past. However, the recent transformations have been a challenging part for us. Challenges like Russia and China's bond has been much more stronger with Xi and Putin's friendship. Next, with respect to US National Defense Strategy of 2018, which considers revisionist of Russia and China as its central challenge. There is a need that India should take a clear stand now. That stand, as said by P.V. Narasimha Rao, a former Prime Minister in 1989, that standing on our own feet and not being a plaything of others was the essence of policy of non-alignment. That is, India at this point should be safeguarding its own national self-interest, thereby democratize international relations. India needs to stay rooted in its own geographical moorings within Asia and within South Asia in particular. So, India's neighborhood first representing neighborhood and the subcontinent at the international forum is needed. Next, India should make its own list of asks from a relationship with the big powers. See, our success with respect to Masood Azhar as a globally designated terrorist is an example how we can persistent and quiet diplomacy pays results. Therefore, India, instead of focusing on the punitive measures, should focus on long term strategic needs. If we don't focus on the rejection of this tactical transactionalism, then what Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison said would be a true. If we come nothing more than some of our deals, it would be a greater misfortune, however, to be trapped in the zero sum of our own deals. Therefore, India, in this storms of trade concerns, energy and communications, transforms alignments, and in the fork of US, China, and Russia, India needs to have a substantive, more clearly defined account of its objectives so that the strategic course in these stormy times would lead into a good road of diplomacy. Let's move on to the next article, that is scoring on health. This article deals with the Health Index 2019, a report released by Niti Aayog. This particular topic will be belonging to GS Paper 2, issues relating to the development and management of social sector services relating to the health. The context why the issue is there is because of the Niti Aayog report, that is Health Index 2019. This report is of 2017 and 18 assessment year. So this report or index is given based on the 23 indicators like NMR, neonatal mortality rate, infant mortality rate, fertility rate, immunization coverage, etc. The index also gives emphasis on the administrative capability and the public health infrastructure of the state. There is a general perception that the states which have high economic growth, which have high GSDP, would fare well in the index of health and education. However, this report brings a contrasting fact into our notice, wherein the low income states are doing better in terms of health and well-being compared to the large states which are populous and politically important. Example, if you can take UP, it is scoring low in terms of its Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra are performing too good with respect to the health index. However, Tamil Nadu, with its low birth weight and functioning of the public health infrastructure, has slipped from its third rank to the ninth rank. If we have to ensure universal health coverage or health for all, then public health should be part of the mainstream politics. We know that tertiary healthcare and secondary healthcare sectors have been taken care by the central government. Central government has devoted greater attention to tertiary care and it has also reduced out of pocket expenses by launching financial risk protection initiatives like Ayushman Bharat. However, states which is responsible to strengthen the primary health sectors, even the Boer Committee in 1946 had emphasized the need of strengthening primary health center, but still states have not done a visible progress with respect to this. Therefore, as according to the assessment of Niti Aayog, there shall be a special attention that is needed to strengthen the primary healthcare sectors, specifically in Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Rajasthan, Assam, and Jharkhand, which are at the bottom of the health index. With strengthening of the primary health center, we can ensure there is an improvement in the infant mortality rate, maternal mortality rate, low birth weight, etc. And the state shall also create a specialist hospitals at the district level. Having discussed so much about the Health Index 2019 released by Niti Aayog, the next question would be, is this health index holistic? Is it comprehensive? It is not comprehensive. It doesn't cover non communicable diseases, infectious diseases, and the mental health. However, we also know that the major contribution to the health sector is from the private sector. No uniform reliable data has been collected from the private sector. Therefore, now the state, which has greater resources at their command with the new financial devolution schemes, they need to strengthen the primary health centers. After discussing the storms that India is facing in terms of diplomacy, the next article is about RCEP. India cannot afford to fall out of free trade agreement negotiations. In this article, let's understand what is RCEP, what are the negotiations, what are the concerns or challenges for India with respect to RCEP. This comes under GS Paper 2, India and its neighborhood relations, bilateral, regional and global groupings and agreements involving India and or affecting India's interests. This article is somehow a continuation of yesterday's article in the newspaper. That is, it's premature to count India out of RCEP. Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership is a free trade agreement that's been sponsored by ASEAN in 2012. It's a trade pact between 10 ASEAN members and the 6 free trade partners: China, Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and India. Despite 6 years of negotiation, there are many challenges that needs to be addressed. RCEP would break down the trade barriers and it would promote investment. RCEP would be covering trade in goods, services, intellectual property rights, as well as the investments. So once RCEP is negotiated, it would be linking 3.4 billion people. It would be world's biggest free trade pact, covering quarter of the world's export. If India sends a negative message on RCEP, it would may undermine India's plans for economic growth. At this juncture, at a time of global uncertainties and challenges to multilateralism and the international economic order, no to RCEP may cost us a huge. Therefore, the Ministry of Commerce has started consultations with major industries who are worried about the RCEP, including the steel, aluminium, copper, textile, and pharmaceuticals, as well as many think tanks have been engaged in building up consensus in favor of signing regional agreement. What are India's concerns with respect to the RCEP? One is with respect to the opening its market for cheaper goods from China and South Korea, which may undermine India's domestic industries there, and ensuring RCEP countries open their markets for services is a need of ours. Next, India has a largest trade deficit with China, so we are demanding for a differential tariff within the free trade agreement. India is firmly sticking on to the point of tagging mandatory of country of origin. Therefore, India, in negotiating the forks in the road of diplomacy at these stormy times, may have to rethink about its diplomacy stand. Then we have an interview of Kasturi Rangan on the education system that needs change, not fine tuning. The chairman of the committee which finalized the draft National Education Policy 2019 on board exams, teacher training, and improving the quality of research. This we would be covering as a separate article. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.